All right. Welcome back to Way Back When. It's my first official episode. And this one, I'll be talking about when I started writing, when I started telling stories, and when it evolved into short films. So, obviously, with the first one, I started writing probably back when I was 13 um, with my homeboys in Woodline, Ohio. We were just given this beat. I can still recall the beat. It was an Uchiwali mix beat. If anybody is familiar with the Uchiwali beat, that's a very hard beat. Um, but it was mixed. I think it was much faster than the original. And we wrote for that for weeks, probably months, until we misplaced the beat. Maybe the beat was lost. I don't know what happened to that beat, but I had so much fun writing to that beat. Then in my back of my mind, I was like, I might be able to do something with this little rapping thing, because I knew all rapping wasn't gangster rap. I mean, I knew there was some lyrical brothers out there um, that belonged in the game. And so after those little couple of years of rapping around and not really recording nothing, just kind of experimenting. It took probably a few years after that, after I graduated high school, experienced college, and then went into the military till I got with some cats where we really started getting it in. It was guys from different areas, you know what I mean? You get a variety, like, okay, I don't rap like him, he don't sound like me, you know what I mean? Which made it cool, like everybody didn't sound alike. So when you put them together, and especially if you was nice, because that's what it was about. You know what I mean? You represent where you from. Like you can't be from Cincinnati and you sound like this on this track. You know what I mean? You can't be repping Georgia, New Orleans, Maryland. Various places that the guys I was running with was from, and not be nice. You know what I mean? And a lot of these guys were nice. You know what I mean? Even guys that didn't rap for real. That wasn't their lane. They still came in and jumped on tracks. And made an impact. So I was very appreciative during those times when as an artist, because I was able to put my best foot forward. I was able to see how motivation works too, especially coming in places. I had a couple setbacks, in my Marine Corps career. I mean, one specifically, you know what I mean, set me all the way back, sat me all the way down, and had me think, like, dude, you gotta figure out what it is you're gonna do with yourself. You know what I mean? It's your life. It ain't nobody else's life. No one should have more impact or influence over your life than you. And that was something that I had to learn the hard way. Luckily for me, you know, I was able to bounce back and get on out of there, out of that situation, not unscathed, but with an understanding that you got to move a little differently out here. Everything is not on everybody else's time. Some stuff is on your time. So that's kind of like how I move now today. Even if I'm not making any announcements about what I'm doing, excuse me, I'm doing something. You know what I mean? But I felt that this particular, doing this channel and this particular medium and allowing me to talk and feel more comfortable about the things that I'm doing, I feel like it's gonna help me build a lot more confidence. And I think that's what it's about. For anybody that's out here doing anything, you want to build more confidence. You want to feel good about the things that you're doing because you can invite people in. It's easily to influence somebody if you're confident in what you're doing. So that goes without saying. The second question that's up here is when I started telling stories. I started telling stories probably, I was telling stories throughout the rapping career, even before we deployed, but it was that second deployment when I met those second group of guys that we deployed with that, my mind changed, because these guys didn't think like the guys before because they came from Okinawa. You know what I mean? These guys from Japan, they I don't know, it was a more liberal, free feeling, you know what I mean, or how they were and how they thought. And I was like, okay, these guys are different. And they analyzed us different. Even though they were Southern guys, most of them, they still, I guess from that experience past, they were different, And they gave, one in particular gave me some insight about my writing. He said, dude, you need, the way you tell stories, the way you speak, you really need to write a book. And I'm like, man, like, me? Like, I'm writing these raps. I never wrote a book in my life. I never wrote anything past a couple pages. And at that time, I was out of college. I went in college. I wasn't, I wasn't thinking about none of that at the time. But I was doing a lot of reading. I mean, I was reading dozens of books. I mean dozens of books on those deployments, and that was really like those were my years that I replaced from the years that I had missed when I went to college before. You know what I mean? And we'll talk about that in a later episode. But um, when he challenged me, that's how I felt. He challenged me. He said, "Man, you need to write a book." And I think it was probably towards the last half of that deployment that I started writing. I'm writing with a paper. You know, obviously there were computers and stuff, but I'm writing everything by hand. I still got those papers somewhere around here. You know, I wrote everything out. You know, it might not have been perfect English, but the story was there. Maybe about 12, 20 pages of just me writing the story out. And that became the Little Brown Box, you know, because I could see me as a father, I was changing. You know, after speaking to a father on a deployment about what his greatest fears were with his child, you know, his daughter in particular, it had me feeling some kind of way because I got a daughter. I'm like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Like, shit, I might have to deal with something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, my daughter was young at the time, real young. You know, she wasn't even where she is now. But if I had, you know, because he was much older, but I said, damn it, I'm probably have to deal with something like that. And it impacted me in such a way that that's what brought about the inspiration for the story. You know, because there's a moment in the book, you know, if you get a chance to read it, where it speaks to this particular situation that he mentioned. Now, I altered it obviously to protect the innocence of his family and the integrity of the story, but it speaks to that very situation that if a father was in that very situation, how would he react? What would he do? What would he say to his only daughter? You know what I mean? So that's just something that a lot of people don't know. But again, story is, for me, is influenced by experience. Somebody give me experience, or I have a moment or a genuine moment with them, you know, I might ask them like, dude, that was deep. You know, I'm not gonna take nothing from nobody and use it as my own, but I'm like, man, that was deep. You know, I'll alter it. You know what I mean? Because you got to protect the lives of the innocent, man. Especially if everybody doesn't live in your world, and you know, because I know everybody's not a storyteller, and everybody's not living in this fictitious world in their brain. Not to say I'm not living in reality, but you know, when I'm doing my stories, that's a different place, obviously, than the life that I have to live. You know, but it's kind of funny though, because you know, with me working my part-time job, I get to be this character because I'm dealing with all these people, you know, working in the grocery store, and it makes it fun. You know, it makes it fun and easy to communicate with people and understand people, if that makes sense. But the last point I want to make before we get concluded is how. Let me. Bad. Let me get this thing on screen opened up. Okay, it's when I got started with the short films. I quoted something away. I write a lot of sayings on the internet, if you haven't already noticed, these last couple of months. But I said you'll never know who you'll meet in those places that you were once afraid to go. I personally, believe it or not, I was once afraid to go to gentlemen's clubs. You know what I mean? Like, you know, go looking at strippers and stuff like that. I just didn't think it was my thing. I didn't say I was afraid of women, you know, and that I wasn't attracted to them. I just didn't think that was my thing. You know, so I went in there with one of my my coworkers or whatever, and I'm like, you know, it was a slow night that night, nothing really going on, you know, and I was just kind of dealing with the people, you know, kind of talking or whatever. Took a couple drinks, and I saw one of the girls. She was, you know, obviously because there wasn't that many black girls in there, but I seen this one. I was like, okay, you know, she looked kind of decent, you know, like, you know, she wasn't dancing. You know, she wasn't trying to like hustle you up out of you and make you buy no drinks or nothing. She was just chilling. I was like, all right, she just seemed like a regular chill person. Let me go over and holler at her real quick. So I get to talking with her or whatever. She get to kind of telling me some stuff about herself and where she's from and things of that nature. And then I mentioned the fact that, you know, at the time I was like, well, I'm a screenwriter because I was in the process of developing my first screenplay. I mean, I was actively involved in it. So, and you know, I probably jumped the gun by calling myself a screenwriter at that time because I hadn't even finished the screenplay yet. But I still mentioned, like, yeah, I'm a screenwriter. You know what I mean? you know, not that I was selling her a dream, but I was trying to get, you know, the conversation going. And so she was like, well, you know, my roommate, you know, he does music videos. I'm like, oh, that's what's up. I'm like, you know, maybe we can talk. You know what I mean? And so I ended up getting her Instagram, and then I think I ended up getting his phone number that night. I contacted him, and within a couple of days, I met him. You know, James Dilge. I can say his name, you know, because he's got a YouTube channel with a whole bunch of the work that me and him done did just over the last year, probably 18 months, maybe not even. I don't even think I known him 2 years yet. I mean, we done got a lot done because he just moved to LA back in October. Yeah, I think October, or it was September. I can't remember the specifics, but I hadn't been knowing him that long. But that's how we clicked. I mean, he was trying to get stuff done. I was trying to get stuff done, and that was the type of relationship that you're supposed to have with somebody when y'all trying to create something. Like, y'all got to be jamming. Like, he's got this, you got this, you got resources, he got resources, you know people, he know people. Like, that's what helps. And he had already been here for several years, so he had a connection in the base that I would then take over once he left. You know what I mean? Some of those connections I still got, and I established some of my own, just by being, working with people that I know from my other jobs and things like that. I mean, being out here long enough, it's a small town. You're gonna be known real quick. You're gonna stand out anyways if you're a melanated character anyways. It is what it is, so you best put your best foot forward, and not make it seem like it's a big deal, because it really ain't. It ain't a big deal. You good, and I feel good, being here, especially being in this particular space, because I've been able to flourish on the creative side. I've been able to do so much with my writing. Since I got here in 2018, I've been able to publish my first book. Shortly after that, I've been able to do my first short screenplay. I've been able to obviously continue to do music. I've been able to link up with artists. So, I mean, would this been able to happen in a larger city? Potentially, yeah. You know what I mean? Would it have been a little bit tougher? Things cost a little bit more? Most certainly. You know what I mean? Because that market would have been a lot more competitive. But, either way, you know what I mean? If you're good at what you do, you're gonna get noticed regardless. So don't ever let anyone tell you anything otherwise. But hopefully I was able to talk to you and give you an understanding of where I started as far as when it comes to music, starting music, where I started as far as telling stories, and then again where I started as far as short films. I mean, again, this is all. Most of these first couple of videos are just introductory videos where I can just get more comfortable as I get to moving around and I get to networking back with people and as projects, because I got a slew of projects coming here for the upcoming year. You're going to understand how this thing works as far as this creative process that I'm going through. So next episode, I think I'm going to cover influence, but I think I'm also going to cover a little piece of where I'm at right now with a current project. And we might do some interviews here and there, but I just want to give you an insight on who I am, what I'm doing, and why this is still important to me. So it's your boy Dow. Until next time, peace.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.